Good evening, and after a long, feels like waiting forever, after a long break, we are finally back. Away Days is back. It doesn't really feel the same without it, but it's been a very interesting and eventful couple of weeks for Newcastle United. I'm here to join with Richie, one of the loaded boys. How are you, Rich?
I'm all right, mate. You?
Not too bad. And before we bring our guest in, who's patiently waiting in the back, just quickly, Eddie Howe is now as manager since the last time we had Away Days. It's been an eventful couple of weeks seeing him on the training ground. What are your initial thoughts with regards to the last couple of weeks preparation for this game on Saturday?
I think a lot of the training has been enhanced. It has put them through fitness levels they probably haven't really realised and recognised for the last 3 years. But I think I'll tell you what the telling thing I've noticed from, especially from the pictures that were released yesterday, there were a lot of smiles on the faces from the players for a change. They actually seem to be enjoying the training and stuff like that. So hopefully that transmit to the pitch on Saturday, and we might be able to get a very positive result on Saturday.
We can only hope. But I know one person in the green room that's hoping we don't get that result on Saturday, and I'm going to bring her in. So from Besotted Brentford, we have Ali. Welcome in,
Hi.
Ali. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm very well. Nice to meet you guys. Nice to be here.
Fantastic. Well, as I said before we went live, thank you on short notice for joining us. Really appreciate it. And we're in our Away Days on Loaded Mag. We always appreciate the opposition's view. This is why we love to have the opposition fans on before our fixtures. So really appreciate you joining us. But look, let's get down to the big fixture, because we've both been patiently waiting a couple of weeks for this game. Brentford, been a bit of a mixed bag this season, I have to say. Started fantastically well. Beating Arsenal live on Sky under the lights, and really pulled out some fantastic results. But I just looked at the fixtures this morning before the show, and is it four losses on the bounce now? So how, from your perspective, as obviously a newly promoted side, do you assess your season so far?
Well, I think the thing was, we all as Brentford fans, because it's sort of like, this is certainly for my generation of Brentford fans, way above being in the Premier League, is way above anything that we ever expected. Even 5 years ago, certainly 10 years ago, when we were sort of like just getting promoted from League Two, and it was never really on our radar. So we all were coming along to the Premier League. Oh, we're just going to enjoy the ride. If we go straight back down again, it really doesn't matter. And then we beat Arsenal, and then we drew with Liverpool, and then we beat West Ham, and our expectations just sort of went, woo! And now the last few games are like, yeah, this is what we were expecting. So it's like you say, it has been a mixed bag. We've had some incredible highs, but we've had a lot of injuries in the last few weeks, and it's as I suspected, I think most of us suspected, because we've got such a small squad. Yep, one or two key injuries, and it really affects you big time. Losing to Norwich was a particular low at the moment, especially as they then sacked their manager for beating us. But it's a mixed bag. We've had some great highs, and we're trying to go back to just enjoying the ride at the moment. But yeah, we really need a win on Saturday.
Yeah, I have to agree. Obviously, it's always a difficult position for a newly promoted side, especially when you have such a great start, that those expectations start to get sort of weighed a little bit. However, you touched on a really good point that I just want to touch on again. You mentioned you had some injuries to key players, and talk about having a sort of a thin squad. Who are the players that are currently out for you at the moment, or have?
Well, we've had out Baptiste. He's got a bit of a history of dislocating his shoulder, and he did it against West Ham. So he's a bit of a loss. Wisser, who's our super sub, who comes on and scores last minute equalisers, got the last minute equaliser against Liverpool, got the last minute winner against West Ham, is going around in an air boot. So we're not entirely sure how long he's out for. Vitaly Yanot, who has been an absolute force of nature in midfield for the last season and a half, should be back this Saturday. We're understand he is back, so that's massive for us. And then Christopher Ayer, who was a brilliant buy for us from Celtic and has been fantastic at centre half. And it looks like he's out until Christmas. So there's almost a spine of our team there. Really, all we need now is for Tony and of course David. How can I forget David Raya? David Raya, who's out probably to February, March. Who's our goalkeeper, and that really seems to unsettle the defence. We've gone from being really quite strong and quite tight defensively to whoa, this is what we were like a few seasons ago, all over the place. So I think the Raya one is bigger than we thought at the time, actually. Not just because he's a great keeper, because it just seems to have unsettled the defence and the way we play out from the back, and the way he starts a lot of our attacks. Alvaro hasn't quite got the same experience to do that yet, but hopefully it will come. But yeah, that's a really, really big blow for us, I think.
No, I have to say, I'm not sure if you're aware, Rich. I was quite surprised to hear that there were that many injuries because I wasn't aware from a Brentford point of view.
I didn't know Arya was out. I was looking forward to getting a closer look at him because obviously we were interested in him in the summer as well. What I'd seen him, he looked like a really good player, especially his versatility as well. He seems to play in several different positions as well, which would have been ideal for us in the this season. But I think the one thing that I've noticed that's been what you're going to do now, the similarities what we've had over the last, probably the start of the season, and that's it. We've had quite a bit of our spine missing. You just saying there, Rhea's out. We missed Dubravka when Dubravka's not there. Darlow's a very different keeper to what Dubravka is. We all feel that Dubravka's, he's an international goalkeeper after all, but he's so commanding of his area, and you can see that the back four, back five's always a lot more relaxed when he's in between the sticks. And I think that's very similar to what you're saying with David Raya as well. Because you also build an understanding as well with your goalkeeper as well. Absolutely. And your back four as well. So bringing someone in, it might be okay when you do it like for cup games like the Carabao Cup or FA Cup once in a while, because obviously you've got to give them the experience. But then, it's your first season back in the Premier League and you've lost your number one for it looks like it's going to be for quite a while as well. So it's a shame really. But it's very, very similar. You've lost players and we're starting to get our spine back. So it's a bit of a transition season, part of the season for us as well. Obviously with having Eddie Howe as well. So hopefully we'll be on the up, and hopefully you can stay up as well, because I think people have loved seeing what Brentford have brought to the Premier League so far. Especially the Liverpool game will probably go down as one of the games of the season.
It was a fantastic game.
It was we watched it and we were like, I think people said, "Oh, it's all right, Liverpool will come back into it," and then obviously it didn't. And then it was just seriously, it was a fantastic game to watch.
As a neutral, it must have been brilliant to watch as a neutral.
Well, we now know how it feels when Newcastle were playing Liverpool and we used to lose 4-3 all those years ago. So we know what it's like now. Yes, so
we won't mention Stan's goal then.
No, we better not.
Definitely not. But look, let's talk about obviously Brentford. You've talked about some of the key players missing, but over the course of the season so far, who have been your sort of standout performers within the team? Let's say the top three standout performers for Brentford. Who would you say?
Oh well, you've got to. Tony is up there, although he's only scored a couple of goals. His work off the ball and the space he's making for other players has been fantastic. The amount of space he's made for Brian Monroe has been fantastic. And Brian should have scored way more goals than he has. He's just been hitting the woodwork a lot. It's sort of like every shot he goes is sort of like almost destined to hit the woodwork. But that'll come. But Tony's just been an absolute force of nature. We could really do with him scoring, starting to score now. But it's not because he's been playing poorly. I think sometimes he drops a bit too deep and he goes looking for the ball, and you could just do with him being in the box more often. But that's because of the way we play. I think Christian Norgard is just in the centre of our midfield. It's just supreme. He's very calm on the ball. He had, he very, very rarely has a poor game. He had nearly always has a good game. I think the one poor game he had was Norwich, strangely, but he very rarely has a poor game. He's has the ability to turn defence into attack. He's good defensively. He's good going forward. His distribution is fantastic. His reading of the game is fantastic. And somebody, then probably Rico Henry at left back, who is. Yeah. I think for a long time he's the best left back in the Championship. I think we're very lucky he's still with us. I think if he hadn't been so injury prone, we probably would have lost him a couple of seasons ago. But he is so fantastic. He's defensively reads the game so well. He's bloody quick, which also helps. Especially as we tend to not like to leave anybody back at corners, but don't. So he's bloody quick. And he's so good going forward as well. He can really get a good attack going down the left-hand side. And he put in a fantastic cross for our goal against, and he's scored a fantastic goal for us against Norwich, just coming in at the back post after a supreme ball by Godos. But those, I think, are the three standout players, and possibly Sergio Canos, who's been turned into a right wing back from a right winger, having been out for the best part of a season with a serious knee injury, and it's really, really grown into that role. They've all done brilliantly. They've all made the step up. So, so well and so much better, I think, than any of us really realistically expected.
Yeah, I have to agree. And certainly your assessment of Rico Henry. He's a player that I've watched quite a lot.
You can't have him. Don't care how much money you're offering. You can't have him.
It's an area where we're lacking a left back or a left wing back at the moment. So I know for a fact that Eddie Howe will certainly be looking to strengthen in that area. So I'm sorry, Ali, I can't make any promises at the moment. But Richie, from your point of view, obviously, you mentioned you watched Brentford a little bit this season. Who has been sort of the main standouts for you as an opposition fan?
I think we've pretty much touched on all of them so far. I think Ray has been fantastic. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? He's had a phenomenal season. He's looked like he's played in the Premier League for years. Not like it's just been phenomenal to watch. I've always loved a good shot stopper, and he's been fantastic. I think the centre back pairing of Janssen and Aya have been great as well. I've always been a fan of Pontus Janssen. Always, even when he was at Leeds, it was always someone I actually looked at thinking we need someone like very similar to that. And obviously the way that Aya's took to the Premier League as well, there was a few doubts about that when there was talk of going to Newcastle. But obviously, everyone was saying no. It was a very, we talked about it as a very similar scenario to Van Dijk. You've got to sort of take that plunge sometimes, because everyone thinks that the SPFL's not that great a standard because it's majority Celtic and Rangers up there. But no, I've liked what I've seen from him, and the fact that he's a captain of his country at such a young age as well shows what a mature head on young shoulders he is. But I've liked what I've seen with him so far. I just love the way he brings the ball out from the back. Yeah. He's really calm on the ball as well. It's someone I would love to see at Newcastle. I've actually been keeping an eye on Tony because obviously that link from Newcastle from when he was a youngster. I think a lot of us have been because, and I hate to be the one, and I'm touching wood on the table as I speak now. Hopefully, it tends to happen against Newcastle, whether someone's got a record that needs to be broken, or an ex-player that comes back to Newcastle, you can guarantee he'll probably score for you on Saturday because it tends to be the thing, and people agree with us on that. It always tends to.
He'll be desperate. He'll be desperate to score. He'll be desperate. That's why I said
touch wood, Pete. You can guarantee it though. If you need a record broken or a run breaking or anything like that, just play Newcastle. We've been like that for the last 2 or 3 years. But I've actually been quite surprised by Weber up front with him as well. I've liked what I've seen of him as well. But I think there's a lot of great stars in there, and I think there's a lot that will actually come out as well going forward as well. Because obviously with a big step from the Championship to the Premier League, sometimes it takes some hit the ground running, some take time to find their feet and stuff like that. But as you said, with regards to Rico Henry, he's a fantastic player as well. And, you know, left back has been one of our weak spots. But what I would also say is I do feel that with Eddie Howe coming in, we've got a perfect left back who's been sitting on the bench for pretty much just over the close to the 18 months since he's been at the club, and Jamal Lewis. You know, he likes attacking fullbacks like that. And he kept Chiesa in the pocket at the weekend when they played Italy. So if he can keep that sort of form up going forward as well, perhaps we don't need to look for a left back as an urgency. Probably go towards the other full back position. So
I have to agree. I think they're great points. And again, another list of players that we've got to be careful of moving forward. But before we get into sort of your opinion, because I'd like to get your opinion, Ali, on one or two Newcastle players that maybe you're hoping are not on their best form come Saturday. I want to get your point of view with regards to some of the big moves that have been happening up in Newcastle the last 4 or 5 weeks. So I've been asking every opposition fan. It's been a really big time for us as a club, a massive change with the takeover. You know, what are your thoughts, and what are the thoughts of Brentford fans around you guys as an opposition view when you saw that it went through? And what are your
I think it's a difficult one on many levels, because there is the human rights issue. I mean, you know, there's no getting away from that. And looking at it generally, it doesn't leave. I have to be honest, it doesn't leave it's not leaving a good taste in the mouth. But having said that, if we were in the same position, how would we feel? And, you know, especially as, you know, Newcastle as a club, you've suffered so much, although nowhere near as much as we've suffered, but you've suffered so much over the last, I don't know, how many years has it been since 10, 20 years now? But
14 years.
14. And I can absolutely see why suddenly you've got all this huge amount of investment in your club, and this huge, you know, it which could be completely transform your club in the same way that Manchester City was transformed. You know, because I can remember, you know, watching City win. I can't remember if it was the League One or the Championship playoff against Reading on penalties, and you know, they were so low down, and the money has just transformed them. And I'm you know, for Newcastle fans and Newcastle the club to be in that situation is, you know, I can't. It's very easy from the outside to be judgmental about it. You know what I mean? And if we were in that situation, would we, you know, what would we do? You know, I'd like to think that I would be sort of like, oh no, but we can't have that. But would I stay away? No, I don't think I would stay away. And you know, I've got to be honest, I don't think I would. At the end of the day, would you stay away? No. And I don't think realistically you can expect, you know, anybody else in the Premier. You know, I think the issue is more is the FA, the Premier League. Should they have allowed it? And if they're going to allow it, then, you know, in many ways you have to say good luck to you guys. But yeah, we coming up to play you fairly soon after it's happened, and Eddie Howe coming in was, you know, from our point of view, the timing's not great. But yeah, I mean, like I said, mixed. You know, I'm sure there's a lot of Newcastle fans with mixed feelings about it, but you know, at the end of the day, you're a football fan and you want your club to do well. So, you know, it's a difficult one, isn't it?
It is, and obviously, you know, the point that you've made, and I, you know, I agree with you, is that, like, you know, if any other club had this opportunity where they had owners that were going to make you the richest club in the world, but they had, you know, the baggage of some of the, you know, human rights and various things with regards to Saudi Arabia, I think most fans would have question marks about it, but would still attend.
Absolutely.
For us, and I think a lot of the guys in the and girls in the chat, and a lot of Newcastle fans at the moment, it's purely thinking about football. And thinking about, you know, we've been through 14 years of hell, as you've mentioned, and it's about giving us an opportunity for a better future. And that's all we want, is a better future for our club, the club that we love. And, you know, like you've said, you guys have moved through the leagues. You're in a position of playing Premier League football. You know, we want to be in a position where, you know, we're not fighting relegation every year, and we've got an opportunity to move through and be competitive, because we haven't been competitive. The only time we've been competitive is in the Championship. You know, each time we've been relegated.
You stormed the Championship. You stormed the Championship.
And we did, and that's the only time like actually really invested in the club, and that's the only time that we actually, you know, were competitive in something. And then we come back up to the Premier League, and it's just kind of less than mediocre. So we want to be able to believe again, and have an opportunity to believe and have some hope and ambition. Have I missed anything out, Richie? Have I missed anything out with regards to the Newcastle feelings around the takeover?
No, not really. I think it's been plain to see for the whole of the football community in general. Do you know what I mean? It's everybody knows. I don't think that they necessarily know to the extent of how bad it's been. You know, obviously there's been no work done at the training ground since 2006, pretty much. I think Alan Shearer revealed on the overlap the other week. There's been nothing put around St James's Park. As we all know, in the NUFC community, there's been dead pigeons in the Gallagher's for years that haven't been removed. I know Ali's laughing, but this is the sort of things that
it's stupid.
And then to find out this week that Sports Direct sponsorship, we've had to put it with them for years, and we've pretty much been getting £3,000 a week sponsorship to have all of those boards around. Is absolutely it worked out to the equivalent of £3,000 a week for 14 years. Like it was just about 160,000 or something like that, wasn't it, Pete?
157,000.
157,000. That's all we've had for sponsorship. So I'd love to see how when this if you know these plans come into place regards to sponsorship with related parties comes in. I hope they're not going to try and say, well, do you know what, you've had banners around for the last 14 years for 160,000. I hope we're not going to have to go along with those sort of things. But no, I was thinking, Ali's laughing, but you know, this is what we've had to put up with for the last 14 years, and it's just absolutely, you know, that's one of the reasons why we were so jubilant for the change. We probably would have been that with anybody that came over and you know took the club off Mike Ashley's hands. I think it just came to you know, we've rolled both the dice and got double sixes, and we've come out with probably the best thing. I think there's been a lot of furore around the Saudi part of the consortium and stuff like that, and you know, a lot of NUFC fans have took that to heart. But you know, we couldn't choose who the club was sold to, and Ashley got it. You know, we couldn't choose who Ashley decided to sell it to. But I would imagine that a lot of the angst between a lot of the other Premier League clubs and fans because it's down to jealousy, because obviously we've gone, you know, we've been called a sleeping giant for years. You know, the Premier League got a taste of what Newcastle could have been in the mid to late 90s and early 90s under Kevin Keegan and Sir Bobby Robson. And I think a lot of the big six trying to stop the takeover and all the pressure behind it is because they know, especially with that backing of this consortium, that it's going to be to the next level. And Newcastle playing that sort of football from that sort of era now, with the money and the superstars we might be able to bring in, just let's get relegation saved this year and keep our place for this year. But going forward, as people said, this sleeping giant's be woken up now. So I think. Do
you think it will be? I'm interested because do you think it will be? How easy will it be? I mean, obviously you've got the financial you could offer the wages, but how easy will it be to get those superstars in? Because you haven't got outside of the UK. Probably Eddie Howe isn't a big name as a manager. Mm-hmm. Newcastle haven't got it's not like when City were able to bring the Mancini in and then Pep. So how much of an attractive proposition do you think Newcastle, and how long is it going to take for you to get to the point where you do become somewhere that the superstars, I don't know, the next Ronaldo or the next Messi, what's
it's weird you say that, because we've discussed this numerous times over the last few weeks.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's good because obviously you're an outsider looking in, and that's part of the reason we do these shows, because we discuss both teams. But me and Peter said before the shows, we're both grassroots coaches, and we love watching other coaches. And Eddie Howe is a fantastic British coach.
Oh yeah.
If we've said, people who are, a comparison is, similar age, similar style of play. You look at Nagelsmann over when he's over Germany. He's gone from Leipzig, done fantastic. He's got to Bayern Munich. If it was Eddie Nagelsmann, people would probably be going absolutely berserk about this, and and everything like that. He's a fantastic coach going forward. And one of the things that we, being Pete's, discussed was the good thing at Eddie Howe is he knows the Premier League, and he knows the players that can get him out of this mess and also build for the next few years. The director of football was the only thing. What you mentioned, Ali, was the only thing which was my slight concern about going for Eddie Howe, was how would the overseas market look at Eddie Howe? For when you bring the products. I think that's all put to one side with the sporting director or director of football to bring in. If they're bringing in like the names of Michael Amalo, if they bring in someone like George Campos or Ralph Ranick or whoever, that sort of caliber of director of football, then I don't see the foreign market being an issue. If I'm honest, I don't know what would you think, Pete?
I agree. Look, when you're well known now as being the richest club in the world, it is naturally going to attract people to the club. So whether it's players directly, whether it's agents, whether it's clubs in general, are going to now start to know about Newcastle. And this is not, from a biased point of view. This is not from a egotistical point of view. This is just genuine, football point of view. Is that in the last 5 weeks, Newcastle has probably been the most talked about club in England. I watch Sky Sports News, for example, pretty much every day. For the past 2 years, Newcastle have barely been on Sky Sports News. For the last 5 weeks, you can't get them out of Sky Sports News. They're on it every single day for some reason or another. And we will be hot topic. And because of that, it intrigues players to want to know a little bit more about it. So when there's an opportunity to sign for a club like that, that's going in the right direction. We're not there yet. We're still in a relegation battle, deep in a relegation battle. But when they know there's a potential to move forward, regardless of the manager that's there, I think it's going to interest a number of players. Now, if anyone's seen Newcastle social media over the last couple of weeks, they will know that, as we've already talked about, that Eddie Howe is a fantastically talented coach. There's an interview with Fabian Schär, who's only just come back from international duty, and he's already singing Eddie Howe's praises and how good he is as a coach. Now, these are guys that probably didn't know too much about him. I think once these players come to the club and know the ambition and the project is the key word, I think that's enough to entice some of those players in. Now, you made a good point, Ali. The top players are not going to come to us, and they're just not, because those guys want to play in the European competitions. They want to be fighting for titles. We're not there yet. But I think the next rung down of players, either the highly experienced players that are maybe into their 30s, early 30s, 32, we can entice in. But I also think, more importantly, that the top young players in and around Europe would want to come to us, because they will see a project that they feel they can be a massive part of over the next 5, potentially to the next 10 years. So a lot of the top young players around there, I think we can attract. Not right now in January, but I certainly think from the summer onwards, providing we stay in the league, I think we can. One player out there that's catching the eye, and he plays for England at the moment, is Jude Bellingham. I think at 18, 19 years old, I think he's a perfect player that we can go out there, that we can certainly afford, both in transfer fee and wages, and someone that we can build a team around, that for the next 10 years, up until the ages of maybe when he's 28, he can be a part of something big for us to push us up to the next level. And I think he's young enough to want to be able to start and develop as part of a project. So that's just one example. I think that next rung down of the Mbappes, Messis, and all that, we're not going to get those sort of players. But the next rung down, I think we can certainly be competitive.
I think you might have to wait a couple of years for Bellingham. I think he's not going to want to come to the Premier League, back to the Premier League just yet. I think he's going to want to keep developing in Germany before. But Bellingham would be a brilliant prize. Absolutely.
Definitely. I know we're stuck for time with yourself.
Yeah.
I know we're very, very tight, and I really
2 minutes.
But just before you go, obviously, we didn't get a chance to talk about the Newcastle players, but I'm sure the likes of Alan St-Maximin and Callum Wilson would be the type of players that you won't want to see on the pitch at 3 o'clock Saturday. However, what I do want from you before you leave is a prediction. What do you think the score will be come 5 o'clock Saturday afternoon?
Now, if we'd been playing this match a month ago, I would have confidently said that we were going to go up there and we were going to win 2-1, or at the very least get a draw. I think it's rather alarming that clubs who are doing badly are suddenly sacking their managers and getting good managers in. It's you and our Spurs. It's all a bit of a nightmare from our point of view. Let me see. I think it will probably be a draw. Probably 1-1. I don't think, I think Eddie Howe will have had time to do some work. I don't think he's had time. He probably needs a little bit longer to get you firing on all cylinders and get you to playing the way you would play. This is probably going to come back and bite me on the bum when we lose 5-0. And we've got a couple of key players coming back, hopefully, touch wood, this weekend, which I think will help us. So I'm going to go for 1-1.
Interesting, very interesting. I'm not going to say my prediction yet, because me and Richie have got a little bit more on this show to talk about yet before we get to predictions. However, all I'm going to say is that I think we'll win. Okay. For Richie, who's on the show, and for the guys on the chat, they'll know that's a surprise from previous weeks when we've gone, we're going to lose. But I'm actually confident that we're going to win. But with me and Richie got a little bit more to discuss on this show.
I hope your confidence is misplaced.
I knew you were going to say that, Ali. I knew you were going to say that. Ali, it's been an absolute pleasure. Your knowledge on Brentford and also Newcastle and football in general has been amazing, and I know it's been discussed in the chat. So I really appreciate your time coming on the show. And you know what? In the turnaround reverse fixture, I'd love to be able to have you on again to talk a little bit more about Brentford and Newcastle, and also where our seasons will be at that point when we next play you.
Yep, I'm looking forward to the weekend. Looking forward to coming up to St James's Park again, even though it doesn't give me vertigo. But it was my pleasure was all mine. Thanks very much.
Thanks for joining us, Ali.
Good luck for every other game apart from Saturday.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Take care.
Good night, Ali.
Fantastic to have Ali on the show.
It was.
I know her time was precious, and she came with us to join us last minute to represent Besotti Brentford. So, as I said, I'm not yet going to do our predictions, purely because we've got a little bit more to talk about with regards to Newcastle. Obviously, it has been a very, very interesting week. So, I just wanted to go through, because there's a few things that were being said on there on the chat before.
Yeah, there's been all sorts of topic on here tonight. It's been very random tonight, hasn't it?
So I'll start with Yano. So Yano said, an established Premier League quality will shine through and will give Brentford a right stuffing. Now, I didn't want to say anything with Ali on the show, but Yano, I agree with you. Now that she's gone, yeah, I'm 100%. I agree with you. I think we'll give them a right beat, and you know what? I would love it sitting in the Lisa's end on Saturday if we are able to turn these guys over in a big way. 100%. Dan said, I hope Dubravka's in goal. You and me both, and I'm sure Richie would agree with that. 100%. That means that we don't need to discuss the Dubravka Darlow situation, because I think we're both clear on who we want in goal come Saturday. I didn't want to mention this, but I know it popped up with Dan.
Yeah, it's been the whole thing.
You know what? There was definitely a looky likey in there for sure, without a doubt. So yeah, I wasn't going to ask that just in case she disappeared from the chat very quickly.
Yeah.
Um,
Are you sure that's why your time wasn't precious tonight, Pete?
No, to be fair, she did say, and she would have definitely left if I'd have put this up. You are
Yeah.
goodbye. Love it, love it. I did want to answer this question. So Yano said, "What biscuit would Pete be? One of those posh ones that you get in the upmarket. Where do you think I am, Yano? Come on, man. Come on, man."
Now, do you know what? Do you know what I see you as, Pete? And it's probably because it's probably the Leicester type thing. I reckon you're a Fox's classic.
You know what? I do love a Fox's classic. I do love a Fox's classic. I don't love the Foxes. In fact,
No, I know.
But yeah, the Fox's classic. I do love a Fox's classic. What biscuits do I like? I don't have many. You know, hobnobs. Hobnobs. Big fan of hobnobs. Or what are they? Just like, you know, the Maryland chocolate chip cookies.
Yeah.
Chocolate chip biscuits. Yeah, either one of them, I'm sorted.
I like the caramel digestive one. Do you know chocolate home wheat one with the caramel in them? Have you had them before? They're like the home wheat, but they've got like the caramel in the middle. I can't believe we were talking about biscuits. You know what I mean? But really.
You know what? I think I have had them before, and I think anything. You know what? Anything with caramel in the middle, I'm sold. Like,
yeah,
I'm down 100%. So I think I've had them before. You know what? I think we need to try some on Saturday, Friday or Saturday.
Yeah,
we need to find some from somewhere. 100%. Geordie 2 for Life said, suppose the club under a terrible owner in Ashley, he's no Snow White, where he gets his clothes from, so we're not stopping where the Saudis are here. They have good points, but that's not news. Okay, I think that's from the discussion that we had with regards to the takeover, and maybe the points that Ali raised. Dan's gutted that he's missing the Christmas party. Would have been great to catch up with you, Dan. But there'll be many other get-togethers for sure that we'll be able to catch up with you with. Hopefully, we'll see you guys soon. I did want to go back right to the top because I had noticed this, but we'd not had a chance to say. Massive thanks to Victoria Shepherd, recently become a member right at the beginning of the show. Massive thanks from myself, Rich, and the rest of the loaded lads. The super chat's open. You have the opportunity to become a member. It's a massive support to the YouTube channel, and obviously we're slowly building, slowly growing, but we appreciate all of the support that you guys have given us so far on the show. But this is the question that I wanted to raise with you, and I've worked my way down to it now. So, Julie 2 for Life put, the director of football is coming very soon, Emanalo. Okay, so Rich, I'm going to ask you the question because we've had some conflicting reports with regards to this at the moment. So, if it had been last weekend, we were told that we were very close to an announcement that Emanalo was pretty much a done deal and it was sorted. However, over the last 24 hours or so, a very good friend of ours, Mitch, from the NUFC Matters, has come out and said from his sources that actually the deal looks like it's not likely to happen. Not because of anything of demands or money or anything like that. I think it's just in terms of possibly the structure or things that weren't able to be sort of sorted out in any way, shape, or form. What are your sort of views with regards to the Emanalo situation, and do you think it will get done, or do you think we need to look elsewhere?
I think he's definitely got to be in the top 3 candidates for the role. I think it came down that it was a personal reason why it wasn't. That's why it stalled. I had heard today and read today, and I think someone's just actually put it. Joy to Life just put a comment as well in the chat about that. There's been some more positive talks with them today. So it could be something that's sorted itself out. But I think it looks as though he's the number one target. I think one thing that was telling at the start of the week, towards the end of last week, which I thought was quite telling, was on his actual Twitter account, he very, very rarely follows anybody. But he actually followed Newcastle last week, which was quite, a telling little thing. So I think I think he's one of those dream candidates you'd love to bring in, because I think, as we would discuss when Ali was on in regards to the foreign market, I think he's got a fantastic knowledge of the European football structure and stuff like that. And we know about how well he did over with all the Belgian players that he brought in. He spied Hazard, De Bruyne as well, Salah, and Courtois. There's some fantastic names that came through. They brought as a young age to the Chelsea academy, and then obviously shipped them out on loan to get the experience and stuff like that. But also he helped create the Chelsea academy become what it has now, which is probably one of the best in the Premier League, if not the best, for the amount of, I think, did they have something like, was it 56 players or something they had on loan last season or something, all over Europe and the rest of the Premier League and the English pyramid and stuff like that. So it goes to show what sort of structure they've got in place. I think they've got the partnership in with Vitesse Arnhem, I think it is, as their partner team over in Holland as well. So they've got a team over there who they can send players to get football experience at a high level, playing teams like Ajax, PSV, Feyenoord, that sort of thing, and that'll give them fantastic experience as well. I think he's definitely up there. I think one guy we always talked on from the very start was that we would like to see come in, and it would be I think he would still work with Eddie Howe, was Ranić. I think he apparently when he's been interviewed for the job, and he came with this, a bit like what Eddie Howe did, he came with this 5 to 10 year plan of what he sees happening and stuff like that. Obviously that's something you want to see. You don't want someone who's come in and saying, well, "Oh, I would do this, I would do that. If you give me this, and if you give me that," it's a bit like what Eddie Howe did when he came in for his interview. He said he was going to tell you what he would do anyway, regardless of what funds, because this is a new experience for Eddie Howe to come to Newcastle with a club with money, so to speak. He's been used to having purse strings tied or not having anything in the bank at all to deal with. So I think I'd like to see it. I didn't know much. I'll be honest, I didn't know much about him until he was mentioned. Obviously, then do your research on him and stuff like that. I think he'd be a perfect fit. Obviously, Georgie Campos is another one that we've discussed before. Would be a fantastic choice as well. But there's so many other good ones out there. There's the guy who's leaving Liverpool, who's there at the minute as well, but he's not leaving until the end of the season. So yeah, I know that's someone that Eddie Howe said he'd like to work with. However, I think I can't see Newcastle going along till the end of the season without someone in that role. I know the guy who's just left, leaving Barcelona as well, he's been mentioned. I don't know if that's more because he's just handed his notice in at Barcelona, so people are just putting 2 and 2 together and possibly getting 5 sort of thing. No, I think I'd be looking at Emanalo. I think with what I've seen of him and stuff like that, and how he's restructured and built, and then the people he's brought in and then developed, I think he'd be the perfect person to bring in for this next stage of Newcastle's building process.
Yeah, I have to agree. I only knew a little bit about him. He's one of those guys that likes to stay in the background, do his business quite quietly. He's just been that type of character, so you wouldn't see him sort of plastered everywhere as being this big sort of big savior. Someone that is like that is very much in the media is someone like Louis Campos, who has been world renowned with regards to his work that he did at Monaco and more recently at Lille. Now, if the Emanalo deal wasn't able to go through, for me personally, I would like Campos to come in, just because you reel off the type of players that he's brought through. You go back to Monaco with Mbappe, Fabinho, Anthony Martial, James Rodriguez that he brought through from Porto, Matinho, various others that he's brought through. That was just at Monaco, and then you go to Lille, And the Nigerian lad, I can't pronounce his name, but who's currently playing at Napoli, who's super talent. There's a number of others that he's brought through as well at Lille.
Is that off Yemen?
Yeah, that's the one. I didn't want to pronounce his name wrong, and it's
I don't know if I pronounced it right.
Wrong, yeah, but actually, you pronounced it, and you got it absolutely spot on.
All right, I'll take that one.
He was responsible for bringing the likes of Renato Sanchez over to Lille, and I think it's Sven Botman, the young lad at centre back who's making waves back there. There's a number of others that he's managed to turn around and make into fantastic players. So he's doing a really good job. He's out of contract. He's out of work. So that deal is there to be done. But I trust Newcastle. If it was any one of Ragnick, Campos, or Emanalo, I would be more than happy with any of those, because each one of those would put us in the right direction of where we need to be in terms of a director of football, and would overhaul the academy and the sort of the transfer business that we would be doing as a club. So yeah, I'd be really excited regardless. But from what you've mentioned there seems to have been sort of more talks today. So hopefully with Emanalo, something can be done at some point. So that's kind of given me some hope, because I've not seen too much today that all is not lost with regards to that. But I'll just keep going down, because there's some other stuff. Being realistic, I can't see us breaking into the top 6 for at least 3 months. No, I've got to agree with you, but only 3 months. We're only allowing it to be 3 months. I reckon Pete would be a sports biscuit. What's a sports biscuit? Never heard of a sports biscuit. That's new. Dan's on one again. Hi, Anne. She's not here anymore. You may have seen it. Richie would be a Garibaldi. What's a Garibaldi?
If I remember correctly, I'm sure it's like it's like a rectangle sort of shape, and it's got like raisins in it as well, with like little pinholes in it as well. No, they're all right. They're all right. Yeah, they're all right. Not as fave like, but
yeah, not. Now, one of these multivitamin bars. Nah, it's got to be a proper biscuit or none at all. That's what I say. Geordie 2 for life. Brentford are the weakest link. Come 4:55 on a Saturday. Fingers crossed. I hope so.
Yeah.
Richie is definitely a dunker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I don't have tea. I don't have biscuits and tea. So I'm not a big tea drinker. I have one warm drink a day. I have a caramel latte on the morning to wake myself up, and that's it. I like me cold drinks.
No, interesting. Very interesting. Good stuff. We've got Ian that said, I think Bellingham might be a bit ambitious. Yeah, but we're an ambitious club right now. So all I did was, Ian, is throw out an ambitious name. Could well be ambitious. Not to say that he would come to us, but why not?
I don't know whether you saw this. Actually, there was a rumor going on. There's another lad coming through the Birmingham City Academy at the minute. I don't hear his name or anything like that. It was meant to be the next Jude Bellingham, and there's rumours that Newcastle were looking at him along with a couple of other Premier League clubs. I don't know if you've seen that at all, Pete.
I saw a little bit of the article today, because he came out and said that the club really wanted him in the summer.
Yeah,
I think it was even Steve Bruce that really tried to sign him.
Oh no, that was different. Like that was the left back. That was it's a young lad. I can't remember who it was.
I'm sure it's not Bellingham, because
no, definitely wasn't Bellingham. Definitely wasn't Bellingham. Definitely wasn't. It was. I'm sure it was in the. I'll tell you where it might be. It might be in the actual Shields Gazette. I saw it.
Okay.
But there was definitely. I'll dig it out for you, mate, and I'll send it to you on WhatsApp.
Definitely, please do. Dan said Richie is the man. We already know that. The Loaded Boys already know that. Richie's the man. The main.
No, I'm not. Pete, you're the man. It's just we have to just follow in your shadow, mate.
No chance. But Geordie 2 for life is right. 3-0 to the Toon. I would love that. You know what? I'd love a clean sheet in this for to win by at least 1 or 2 clear goals. That would be a fantastic result.
I'll tell you what, just while you're going through the things, there's something I read earlier on, an article about another person that we've been linked with, and it actually it's someone I actually like him as a sort of player. I think he'd be good for us. But apparently, a lot of Newcastle fans are against him because he's 32, and which to me is nothing. You know what I mean? I'm in my 40s and I still get around the football pitch a little bit. I know, Pete, you're a bit younger than me, but older than that. But I don't know. I think we need some experienced heads in now because we've had that many young players under 26 for a while. And Alex Witzel's been linked with us for the summer, or possibly in January as well. And I don't know. I just think he's that type of player. I've watched him at Dortmund a lot, and I've watched him when he's been a part of Belgium as well. And I think he's a fantastic player. But a lot of Newcastle players are saying they wouldn't have him because he's 32, which I just think is absolutely ridiculous. Just because he's 32.
It's not about age. We are.
To me, it's not.
We are done with that now. We had an owner before that was only looking at players 26 and under. Okay, if you look at our situation now, we're 5 points adrift of safety. We need experienced heads to get us through the rest of this season. So if we can get an experienced head, someone that knows how to get us out of this mess, or certainly someone that's got the experience and the calmness and the confidence to help others around them, I'm all for that 100%. 100%.
I just think he adds a bit of bite, box to box. He's got that experience of Champions League football, national football. I think it'd be a fantastic addition. I really don't care that he's 32.
Yeah, no, not interested in that. It's about what they can bring to the team. And you know what? It might only be that we bring in 1 or 2 experienced heads for a couple of seasons, just for even maybe 1 year. We're in a position now where we can do that, where we can pay the wages for 1 year and say, right, for 1 year, come and get us out of this mess, or come and take us to this level. You've done your job, and then you move forward. You know, it reminds me of a little bit of, and it's maybe not the same situation, but similar, is Esteban Cambiasso when he went to Leicester. He spent 1 year at Leicester, and yeah, they had a really, really like shit time for a chunk of the season. But then the back end of the season, I think they went 10 straight wins. So they came out of nowhere to manage to stay in the league, and ended up staying in the league quite comfortably. And I always remember the Leicester players going back to Esteban Cambiasso in that midfield, that bite that you're talking about, box to box, got a couple of goals on the way to that run of 10 games, and they really wanted him to stay, but he was kind of like, he got offers for clubs that were challenging, so ended up moving on. What did Leicester go and do the next season? Ended up going and winning the league. And it's that player that came in for that period of time, did a job, then moved on. We're in a position to do that now because we can pay the wages. Our wage bill was nothing before with Mike Ashley. We've got an opportunity to pay 2 or 3 players big money, you know, and be able to do that. You know,
the other fitting thing he actually says in the article is he only sees himself playing at the highest level for another 2 to 3 years, which to me that's the perfect time span that we would need him for.
Of course, 100%, 100%.
Actually, you know what? I could see him coming in and then us replacing him with Bellingham from the same club. That would be interesting.
Yeah, I would take that.
Yeah.
20-year-old, 21-year-old Bellingham coming in for big money to be that major replacement. That would be good. Very, very good. I can see it's going to be really interesting because I don't know what you guys in the chat, and I don't know what you guys think. What you think, sorry, Rich, is that, you know, every player that tends to come to Newcastle in this Mike Ashley era, particularly those that are English and are on the peripheries or been in the England squad, never really get a chance to get in the England squad when playing for Newcastle. It's going to be really interesting to see, you know, if we went out there, for example, and got someone like a James Ward-Prowse in January, who's on the peripheries of the England squad when fit and actually gets in and gets games, or we went out there and brought, you know,
There's loads of there's Tarkovsky, there's Cody, like Trippier. We've been linked with. You know, these are people.
Would they still get in the England team? Would they still get in the England team? Now we're playing. Now playing for Newcastle. If we bought those players,
I think Southgate does tend to venture up here, very few and far between. But I do think you'd see a lot more people actually coming up to view them. At the end of the day, they're going to start, especially possibly not, see what happens this season. But if you look, you go on to next year, and then you see who we invested in the summer. And if you start bringing in, the higher caliber of foreign players to play alongside of these players, there's no reason to, if you're training with them day in, day out, and then you play together as a team week in, week out, and you're playing up against the better teams, and you see how they start to compete against, the top 10 sort of thing. I don't think there's any reason why there shouldn't be. He did come and look at Lascelles when we had Rafa. Do you know what I mean? Because there was, Lascelles was playing quite well at the time. So if there's someone that's potentially the catches eye, I think these are names where we have actually beaten the England squad probably in the last 2 to 3 years that we're mentioning here. So there's the Lingard one as well. Lingard's been mentioned as well. That's another thing that's been discussed today as well. I've seen. So there's lots. But yeah, I think he knows what Newcastle is as a team when they go, because he's obviously had experience of playing against Newcastle in that sort of period. He's also managed up here at Borough, so he knows what the fan base is like. And then, so if we can start to put the assembles of a good team and squad together, and I think Eddie Howe needs to bring in an English component to that, because I think the English component we've probably got now, there's only one who is England caliber, and that'll be Callum Wilson. But we need a few more pieces around him to go with that. And I think if we bring them in, I think there's no reason why he won't be up here more often and looking at them. I don't think that they should look at as these people who we're linking with who are in the squad or thereabouts. I would hate to think that the people are looking at like Ward-Prowse or Tarkovsky thinking, well, I can get in the England squad being at Burnley, but I won't if I go to Newcastle.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting. Because, like I say, if you go back to the Michael Owen situation, 2006, since then we haven't had very many England internationals, and when we have, they haven't stayed at Newcastle very long after that period of time.
To be fair, though, we haven't. I don't think we've been buying English players of that caliber, though. We've started to go up to the European market a bit more, because, as we know with Mike Ashley, he started bringing in overseas players who were cheap, so then they could develop. Well, the point was that they would get the best out of them, develop them a bit more, and then sell them on for a higher profit. You look at Sissoko, Perez. These are people that yes, we've got to stay with the club for a while, did reasonably well, and then it went on to bigger things and stuff like that. But we need to start. In my opinion, I think I would be rather looking at some younger English talent or established Premier League quality players to bring them on, because you look at the younger talent. Apparently today there's a rumor going around that Eddie Howe really likes Elliot Anderson, which we've seen very little of. When we did see him when they played against Arsenal in the FA Cup in January, he came on, he looked really good. He was taking the game to Arsenal and stuff. I think we did the same match day live, actually, Pete. I think we did it when we did it.
Yeah.
And then we never saw him afterwards, and he's never really been given a chance. So, a good mix of English experience and a spine through the team, and bringing some fantastic. Like Jamal Lewis is still a young player. You can build around him as well. He could be in. If we can get the player out of him, which I think Eddie Howe can, that Klopp saw when he put the bid in for him a few weeks before we did, then he could be our left back for 5 to 6 years or going forward. Do you know what I mean? It's that sort of thing. So I think, I would hate to think that anyone wanting to move to Newcastle would think it would affect the international careers. I don't see that at all.
I hope you're right. 100%. Let's go through. What else have we got? So, I'll tell you what I did, because I know you're working your way down it, just in case anybody goes to this now, I did want to say a huge thanks to Trulls, because Trulls, yes, you're coming up with this. Now, while we've been waiting, I want to say thank you very much, Trulls. It's much appreciated, right?
Now, 50 Norwegian krona might not be, no one might be able to did some currency converting while we've been sitting here. Thank you very much, much appreciated. I'm not going to tell people how much it is. They want to go and have a look, but you know what? Every single penny counts. Controls, much appreciated, mate.
Yeah, top man. Always in the chat, always communicating and asking questions. Absolutely massive thanks for that. Really appreciate it. 100%. So, I'm not going to get into Tim. Look, all I'm going to say is Nando sauce. That's it. Nothing else. Nothing else, in my opinion. What about you, Rich?
Yeah, I don't mind a bit of spice.
Yeah, definitely. Hobnobs. Oh, yeah. Cheers for that, Brian. And Malalo, more positive talk today. Just reaffirming what you've said, Rich.
Yeah, it was that was one of the things I've seen off duty, but it brought me attention what I'd read earlier on. So thanks, Jody.
Spot on. Jeff and Manolo sounds like a posh chocolate. Yeah, just a bit. Chelsea are putting up their price for the West Upper Stand to 1,000 to 3. What?
That's ridiculous.
From 1,000 to 3,900, absolutely ridiculous. I hope we.
Do you think that's a move to try and keep up with us having new owners?
Probably
increase their spending power.
Wouldn't surprise me at all. Now, look, the London clubs and their prices are crazy. Now, Newcastle is a working class city, and hopefully when we're moving up the league and we're attracting more people to the club, I hope they keep that in mind. I hope the owners, and I'm sure they will, because they're not stupid people. They're very, very smart business people. So I'm hoping that they do keep that in mind when we do move up the table, because those sort of prices that Geordie 2 for Life has put up there.
It's scandalous.
Yeah, it's scandalous. And
do you know? I understand price. I understand prices go up, Pete, but to nearly quadruple it, it's absolutely scandalous. Absolutely. That's no matter what club you're at, whether you would be, if you're going to say, for example, to a League 2 club and you pay a tenner and you put up to 40 quid, you can go and see Newcastle for 40 quid and you go over a League 2. You know what I mean? That's for say someone like Hartlepool. It's I know 40 quid would be a lot of money to go and see them and stuff like that, but they wouldn't do that to their fans. And I know it's only 30 quid. Do you know what I mean? And people might go, but it's not much of an increase, but it's 4 times as much as what you were previously doing. £1,000 to £4,000 for a seat. Seriously, absolutely shite. Scandalous.
It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. Chris, I asked for both squad evaluation and the takeover. So I think you.
Yeah, I think Chris missed that bit.
Bacon. I hate bacon. Not even going to get into that. Yeah. Oh my God. Tim with these questions coming in. Let's have a look. Let's work our way down. Oh.
But if anyone wants any football chat or any questions to ask us before we round up the show in the next 10 minutes, just quickly get them in the chat now. So we don't have to waste them necessarily on biscuits for the next 10 minutes.
Definitely. Yeah, cheers for that, Dan. Absolutely spot on. Cheers for that, Paul. Paul's a massive supporter of the channel. Always sharing, always showing his support. So massive thanks to have him on there. But look, I'm going to ask you a question, Rich. As we're building towards the Brentford game, who would be your ideal 11 that you would hope that Eddie Howe would start the game with? And for anyone else in the chat have got similar opinions or different, throw your starting 11s in the chat as well. So, Rich, what would you be your starting 11 come 2:00 Saturday when it pops up on the app?
You know what? Normally I could, when we've had Bruce there, I've been able to reel off what my first 11 would be and stuff like that. And I was looking at the pictures that came through yesterday from the training and how there was the 2 team pictures and stuff like that where they were celebrating after the training. And I was looking and I was thinking, right, I could see him being in the team, and I was looking out, and it was weird looking at the teams out how there was like similar players in and stuff like that, and I'm thinking, that wouldn't be far off that if he was playing that formation. I think because we don't know how he's going to set up yet, is why we're struggling to know how we're going to pick a team, if that makes sense. Because you mentioned earlier on, Fabian Schär's come back in and he's been blown away by what he's seen in training from Eddie Howe and stuff like that. And he would definitely bring something to how he likes to have someone to bring the ball out from the back, like they were Nathan Ake, a similar sort of player like that. But then he doesn't tend to do well at a 4. So then you think, well, he's also been away with Switzerland, so perhaps he might go with someone who's been there for the 2 weeks. So, if you go with the typical 4-4-2 or the 4-4-1-1, or he has done 4-3-3 before as well. I think you have to bring Dubravka back, and we touched on it at the start of the show. Our build-up play starts with Dubravka. I know Darlow has worked on it, but he's not in the same league. And that's one of the reasons why Rafa brought him in, was the way he could play with his feet. And then, you don't have to stop and then build up again. You can literally, you can switch play dead quick going through Dubravka. You can get one touch ball out of his feet and it's gone. And you spread it out. But he's also not good just like with a defence to his fullbacks. He's good at, he can dissect it to the centre midfielder. He can actually play it to the wingers as well, whoever's there. So he's got good distribution from there as well. Fullback, I think, if you're going to play with a right back, I think you're going to have to go with Manquillo, really, realistically.
He's the only one we've got.
Yeah, well, I know Kraft's there, isn't he? But it's...
As I said, he's the only one we got.
Yeah, I suppose. Left back. See, I'm torn on 2 things here as well. Personally, I would like to see Jamal Lewis. I think he's crying out to be given a shot. And I think he really put himself in the shop window the other day for Eddie Howe, with the way he played against Chiesa. That's no mean feat, especially when you haven't been playing week in, week out, to go up against one of the Europe's young up-and-coming players, and to basically, keep him in his back pocket sort of thing. So, however, do I think he might go with Richie because Richie's been there all for the 2 weeks? He knows Richie as well. However, he's never played Richie as a left back before, so that's also something to consider there. I'd like to see Lewis there, but I don't know whether that means because he might not have seen enough of him this week. I think centre back wise, I think depends on who's fit. Do you know what I mean? It's one of those. I think we need Schär in there to have someone to bring the ball out from the back. But he doesn't tend to do well in a 4, and that's my only concern on that. But that doesn't necessarily mean that he's an international footballer. He can't be trained to play in a 4. And if that was the case, I'd like to see him alongside Fernandes. I think those 2 realistically are probably our best centre-back partnership at this moment in time until we can get into the transfer market. I think you still need someone to hold the ball up in the middle. So I think you'd probably, if that's the case, the only one that you've really got there is Isaac Hayden. But if that's the case, you're going to need to put someone with legs in around him who can get about the middle of the park. So if that's the way you're looking at it, you're possibly looking at someone like Willock, Longstaff. The reason why I say Longstaff is because he's been covering the most ground in a lot of the matches recently. He also showed his fitness levels by winning the bleep test that they went last week as well. So that's the sort of thing he wants. He likes a high press. He likes a lot of energy. Then if you go to the winger situation, I think this is, I wouldn't mind seeing Fraser on one of the flanks because we know the part. It was telling that Ryan Fraser pulled out the Scottish squad, and I think we all know he wanted to show Eddie Howe that he's committed to the cause. He also knows that he can actually get something out of him, and it would be really, really good to see the partnership that Bournemouth had with Fraser and Wilson as well. If they can rekindle that, then I think we'll be flying on that front. I think you've got to go. ASM will be playing somewhere, whether he plays on the left or whether he plays behind Wilson. We don't know as yet how that was going to be. I think then it depends on where you play him. You look at who's the other person when the movie plays on the left. Do you have an Almiron to come in, depending on when he gets back from Paraguay? Do you have him in and around behind Wilson just to get in the box? We've both felt he's probably better as a number 10 rather than on a flank or something else. If he's not, the only other option you could do is you could bring Willock into the centre of the park with Hayden and play Longstaff possibly as a number 10, because he did a lot of that in his younger part of his career, where he used to attack the box as well, coming in. So that's another option. There's plenty of different options, and I think until we know how he wants to set up, and then until he's actually seen everybody over an equal period, I still think we're going to be probably guessing. I think you'll probably see that coming through in the chat as well. There's various different names and formations coming through there and what their thoughts are and stuff like that. Yours is probably going to be different to mine as well, Pete. So go on, you hit us with yours then.
Yeah. I actually think someone like Matt Ritchie is going to be quite important to how he sets up, if I'm honest, because there's an argument that Jamal Lewis, and I know he hasn't been training with the team, but he would have definitely been watching or certainly been given some feedback on how he performed for Northern Ireland against Italy. I think you talked about it as well, the fact that he marked Chiesa out the game and one or two other players. I think Berardi might have played it, if I'm right in thinking. He had a fantastic game. And when you're playing against top level players and you're having such a fantastic game, that has to get your manager thinking, does he need an opportunity in this team? And I think Eddie Howe will make a statement. I think he'll make a statement by playing a player that's probably not been playing much recently. And it will be maybe either someone like Fabian Shaw or Jamal Lewis. But I think there's a potential to play two formations. I think if he plays Matt Ritchie at left back, I think he'll go 4-3-3. So I think he'll go Matt Ritchie left back. I think he has to start the captain, and I think he will start the captain. I think tongues will start wagging if Jamal Lascelles is the captain when fit doesn't play. I think he's got more of an argument to not have him in the team at the end of this season. So I do think Jamal Lascelles, bearing in mind he's been training every week, every day for the last 2 weeks, will play. And I think it'll be a case of who plays alongside him. And I think it'll either be Fernandes or Shaw. If it was to say which one it would be, I would say Fernandes, purely because he's been there and trained with him. So it's likely they could have been training as a partnership to be able to get them playing together. And then, as you said, Manquillo right back. I think in a 4-3-3, I think they would go John Joe Shelby central with Willock and Longstaff being the box-to-box runners and doing the high press, with John Joe Shelby being able to get on the ball and play it forward. There's an argument that Isaac Hayden should be playing in there, but I think with both Longstaff and Willock, I think you've got high presses that can press high up the pitch and then create going forward as well. So I think it'll be harsh on Hayden, but I've got a feeling he's going to go for a ball player because we're at home and we're going to be expected to have the ball more often. And then the front three kind of picks itself really. Wilson in the middle. I would go ASM on the right and Ryan Fraser on the left. And I think that could potentially be the team. But like I say, you've got the likes of Miguel Almiron, who's been on international duty, and I think will come into the team at some point. But I think it's an easy decision for how to make, to say, you've not been training, you don't know the way of playing. Come off the bench and make an impact, and it leaves a few options there. So I think that could be potentially the team. I think if it's a 4-4-2, I think it'll be slightly different. So I actually think someone like Dwight Gale might come into the team, or Joe Linton. And I know there was a comment further up that I saw about Joe Linton in terms of hoping, or not hoping, but thinking that actually he might get a game at some point down the line. I can't quite find the tweet now, but the message. But someone put on there about potentially Joe Linton playing. But I think Dwight Gale could well get a chance up front alongside Wilson. And then you have Ryan Fraser on the left wing, Alan St. Maximin on the right. And then it's interesting who you put in the centre. of that midfield. I think if you're playing a 2 centre midfield, I don't think John Joe Shelby plays. I think he only plays in a 3. So I think it would be the likelihood of a Sean Longstaff and a Joe Willock, or a Joe Willock and an Isaac Hayden potentially as a 2. So it could be really, really interesting, really interesting lineup. It could be a number of different lineups because he can play a number of different styles based on the opposition that we're playing. So I'm really intrigued to see what he comes up with. Really,
well, that's it. You know, we don't know also, Pete, how he's going to be able to get out of the players we haven't seen much of. Like, as you mentioned, you touched on Joe Linton there. We don't know how could get out of him. And I know it's been mentioned a few times. We know he's not a centre forward, but you know, he's a big lad, strong lad, holds the ball. Could he be put? Could someone look into midfield or something like that? Do you know what I mean? Is a gap in between there, sort of thing? Because he's got good legs and stuff like that. There's nothing to someone. I can't remember where I read it or saw it, but someone was saying, look at when he was people had who were forwards who were good in the air, but they weren't prolific, but they were good on the ball. And you had people saying, you look at Steve Howie when he was a striker, but they converted to a centre half. And how many people like that? Who's to say that Joe Linton couldn't be a good holding player in midfield or a centre half? I know this is just other people see different things. You know what I mean? There's a player in there somewhere. It's just getting the best out of him. But I thought this was a good, interesting point of what Joey Toonville mentioned here. Was Lewis at left back, and if you had Rich as a left side of midfield, if we were going like a 4-4-2 or a 4-4-1-1 or something like that, I think I would do it slightly different. I'd probably have either Fraser on the left midfield, because obviously we know he's done a lot of covering for a full back before. He's played as a wing back as well, so he knows what to expect if he has to stand in. I think he'd probably then look at Richie has to be involved somewhere if you're going to put him in the flank, because he's created that many chances for Newcastle this time by putting the ball in, so you need that delivery sort of thing if we're going to be playing the attacking football. So why not put him back on the right where he was used to when he first came to the club, and where he used to play when he was at Bournemouth as well, and Eddie Howe. Yeah. And then you could possibly play ASM behind Wilson or something. There's so many possibilities, and that's the exciting bit, because we could talk all night about all these endless possibilities, but we're the only person that knows what it's going to be like on Saturday is Eddie Howe at the minute, and his coaching staff, and the team won't even know what's happening yet. But I think it just builds up to the tension for Saturday, and what's hopefully going to be our first win of the season.
I really hope so. I really do hope so. But Shane's mentioned Howie, 2 a.m. kickoff here with Roz, bring it on. Quality, Shane. And you know what? Even better for tuning into the show. Really appreciate your support there, Shane. Without a doubt. There are some great points in the chat. Shane's put 3-1 win. Lads, let's go. Again, I take that 100%.
Yeah, going for a Penman.
Yeah, definitely go for Penman. Tim's gone 4-4-2. The Bradcup, Fernandez, Shaw. Ooh, Fernandez and Shaw. Manquillo and Lewis, interested. Richie, Hayden Willett, Maxi, and Wilson and Almiron. Interesting. Okay, he's managed to fit Maxi, Wilson, and Almiron into the team. I do think the fact that, and you touched on it as well, Rich, that Fraser, didn't go on international duty, a duty that he was desperate to go on under Steve Bruce every time it came around, definitely told us a lot about where their relationship was in Ryan Fraser and Steve Bruce, but also the relationship with Ryan Fraser and Eddie Howe, because there had been question marks about them potentially falling out. Eddie Howe's made the point of saying that they didn't have a discussion on it, and that he never had an opinion on it. He heard that he wasn't going to continue playing. Respected his opinion for that. It did have an impact on Bournemouth fans, and we know from speaking to Tom on the show that Bournemouth fans never forgive him for that. But Eddie Howe clearly has, and the fact that he stayed and trained with him for 2 weeks shows that he's desperate to do well for Eddie Howe, but also for the club. So the question marks about his attitude, maybe it was kind of misplaced slightly, but he's still got a little bit to prove, and hopefully he can kind of find his feet now. Hopefully,
definitely
under under Eddie Howe. So yeah, last couple of minutes, just go through one or two. Yana's gone 4-2-4. Wow. Manquillo, Freddie Fernandez, Clark, Lewis, Hayden, Shelby, with then a front four of ASM, Fraser, J7, Joe Linton, and Wilson. Interesting.
I
Definitely
suppose it's a bit something like a 4-2-3-1, really, realistically, isn't it? Rather than a 4-2-4.
Okay. But he's gone for the 4-2-4 because that's definitely a FIFA tactic. FIFA tactic 100%. If you want goals, if you're chasing 4-2-4, get them up there.
If you want goals, you better not put J7 in there, then.
Yeah, you know what? Great point. Definitely. Shane's gone. Clark out. Shaw in. Dubravka's a must. Got to
agree with both of them.
Tim is gone 3-0 on Saturday. Again, I'll take that. Think Jones will suggest going with a... Oh, my God. Yeah, no, you're killing us, man. You're killing us. No, I think he will be told what the team is rather than him having a say on the team. Now, I have to say, and I've mentioned this before on Loaded, is that I do believe, you know, Jones has got a little bit of stick. You know, I mentioned on Monday on our show, I pointed the finger at the two Steves. Why were they not getting the same stick as Graham Jones was? You know, they were both... All three of them were equally the coaches at the club. You know, all the emphasis was on Graham Jones because he was brought in as this saviour, but they all had the same role. But he seems to get all the stick when it went wrong, but equally got all the praise when it went right. Don't quite agree with that. So, yeah, I think he'll go back to just being a coach, and I think he'll enjoy that. Miggy just played on Tuesday night at 11 p.m. our time, so can't see him playing, but a good sub. All left footers in Richie, Lewis, and Fraser. I think Fraser's
I think
right.
the thing about that is, though, I know he's predominantly left footed, but he can play with his right foot as well, and he's strong with his right foot as well. You know, you remember when he first came to Newcastle, he played right with it, and to be fair, he pretty much played on the right all his life, and he never ever realised he was it wasn't right footed because he's so strong. So he's good with both feet. So I think that wouldn't concern us.
Nah, I would agree with you 100%. It's not a concern. He's able to cut in and whip it in with both feet. So excited for the game. Haven't been this pumped in a long time. Shane, we're with you. We are absolutely buzzing for this game. Cannot wait for Saturday. Ian's put SJP, St James's Park. We're bouncing on Saturday. I hope it is, because we're both there for the game and we are very much looking forward to it. And I think Brian's sentiments are the same. Great to see the smiles on your faces, lads. It isn't it a change from a few weeks ago? Toon 4-0. Wow, I'd take that 100%. Thanks for your efforts and putting on a great show. I think that's a great way to finish the show tonight. Thank you for that, Brian, and thank you all. Thank you all for the support you guys have given us. You know, week in, week out on the chat. You know, whether it's on Twitter with the promotions and various other things, we really do appreciate it, Loaded. And you know, all five of us, lads, we talk about it a lot, about the support we get from you guys. It doesn't go missing, 100%. But very much looking forward to Saturday. But also, Dave, you'll see us at the Do tomorrow. We will be there. I'll probably be slightly later than Rich because I'll be driving up straight from work. But looking forward to seeing you all and mingling all with you guys tomorrow night. So very excited about that. We'll go past that one. As soon as I saw Hendrick, I thought, we're not wasting that one. Hopefully he's not in the squad. Cheers, Tim. Really, really appreciate it. But we're there. So, Rich, massive thanks to you.
Pete, you can't finish the show yet. You're forgetting the one thing you said everyone you were going to do. You haven't predicted the score, mate. Come on. You've had everybody hung on for the last, however long it happened to them what the score is.
Without actually doing it, because you know what? I hate predicting. The scores. I really do. However, I've got to be honest, I'm confident going into Saturday. I really am. I just think we're going to win. And I think we'll win. We'll win comfortably. So I'm going to go. I was going to go 2-0, but I'm going to go 3-0. I'm going to go 3-0. I think we're going to have a real attacking intent about us. A goal in the first half, 2 in the second. Wrap up the game, and I think it'll be a great atmosphere on Saturday. Really looking forward to it. So yeah, I don't like doing predictions, but I'm going to go 3-0. What about you, Rich? What do you think?
Similar to you, I think we will win, and I think we'll win by 2 clear goals. So I'm saying either 2-0 or 3-1.
Okay, interesting. I like it. But either way, we're getting the 3 points.
Yeah.
I'm 100% confident about that. Just before we do go, I need to just plug. We're pushing to 2,000 subscribers. So those guys that are in the chat as well, please hit the likes, hit the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed to the show. We really appreciate your support. Just gone past the 1,500 marker subscribers. So again, really appreciate everything that everyone is doing to support Loaded Football HQ and Loaded Mag. We are continuing to throw those bits of content out, and there'll be plenty more coming back next week. And obviously, as we've mentioned before as well, we won't be doing a Loaded Mag, or certainly at the moment we're not, unless anything pops up, because myself, Richie, and Chris are going to be at the Matters Do tomorrow night. So we'll be looking to see a number of you and mingle and get to see you hopefully at the game on Saturday. So
yeah.
As I was going to do before you managed to put those predictions in there, I want to say a massive thanks to you, Rich. Really enjoyed my time with you tonight, chatting Newcastle, as always.
Enjoyed it, mate.
Thank you for dropping in, because I know Chris couldn't make it last minute, but always a pleasure chatting Newcastle with you, mate.
Definitely.
Look forward to catching you tomorrow for 1 or 2 and a really good proper catch up for once.
Yeah, and a meet for the first time as well, not virtual.
Definitely. Not having to press any buttons to add and remove all over the place. But yeah, really looking forward to it, mate. And
definitely, mate.
For the rest of you guys, as always, it's a pleasure sharing away days with you. We will be back next week for some more away days, looking towards the Arsenal game. And as always, we do love playing away. You guys take care. Have a fantastic weekend.